So if we just became a guard channel, everyone's cool with that, right? Hello everybody, it's the Warhipster here, coming at you with another Sprue review of 2025. Yes, 2 already! And this one's a big one. Yes, Games Workshop have been very kind and have sent me the new Korps of Krieg army set, and I've been having a good time. Despite the fact that last week I was still not 100% healthy, I've been really struggling all week. I'm now feeling pretty good, and I'm really revved up for the Korps of Krieg and the Astra Militarum. I mean, we were going to start this year off strong with Astra Militarum anyway, by doing the tanks, and I wanted to get the Baneblade done as well, but illness prevailed. But illness has not stopped me this week. I have been painting Korps of Krieg, and I've done quite a lot, if I do say so myself. Yeah, I've been really excited, and it's a very cool book. It's a very cool set of miniatures. It's a very cool army. I've had various iterations of Astra Militarum over the year, and they've never stuck. But now, 2025, that's the year of the Guard. So if you're as excited as I am about Astra Militarum, then you're going to want to check the rest of this video out, because we're going to have a good look at the inside of the box. I'm going to tell you how long it takes to build, and you get to have a good look at those sprues for the first time, I hope. I hope you haven't been watching other unboxing videos. You should wait for this one. So yes, usual format today, and well, I'm now back to normal, so I'm really revved up. It's really cool. I'm very excited. I kind of just want to paint Guard for the rest of the year, but other stuff will come out, so hopefully this excitement continues for the rest of the year. But before we jump into the rest of the review, I must ask you to do the magical YouTube thing where you click the like button, you click the subscribe button if you haven't already, and you leave a comment below telling me, how excited are you for the Korps of Krieg? How excited are you for the Astra Militarum? Be very excited. And without further ado, it's time to take a look inside the Korps of Krieg army set. Well, looky here. What have we got for ourselves today? This is a hell of a treat, isn't it? The Korps of Krieg. Yes. I'm still not quite better, but this might be the medicine that I need. So, let's have a look at this, shall we? We'll flip the box over first, as per usual, and have a look at what's inside. There we go. So, siege warfare is what we have inside. What we have is Marshal Dreer, hand dryer. We have 10 Death Riders, we have 5 Krieg combat engineers, and we have an artillery team, as well as War Scroll cards, not War Scroll cards, data cards. War Scroll cards is Age of Sigmar, sorry. We also have the Codex as well, contained in this absolutely glorious box of wonderful loveliness. I'm really excited for this one, so we're just gonna jump in. We're gonna get started here in just a second. I don't want to damage you, oh lovely box. Oh, but I might have to. No, I think we're good. Alright. Oh no, I'm gonna have to do it on the other side as well. Oh no! Not quite perfect, but there we go. Anyway, sorry, I don't know why I was so obsessed with that. Anyway, let's slide this out. So, you should have... Oh, wow. The problem with not having enough room is you don't get to see that reveal in at the first part. There we go. Krieg. That looks absolutely fantastic. I love that. And then on the other side, we also have this as well, which is just beautiful. Beautiful piece of artwork. I think some of these might be my favourite graphics I've ever seen from Warhammer. how does this work now? Okay. I'm going to choose to believe that this is just me showing due reverence to this box. Okay, here we go. We're finally into plastic territory. Okay. Here it is, at long last. All of the plastic. It's a weighty box and there is a ton of stuff in here. So, first and foremost, that right there, that looks to me to be a engineer's sprue, because we've got the little drill mine thing. It's there we go, across 3 sprues. It might be all we need for the engineers. That to me looks like a Lord Marshal hand dryer. There we go. That seems all good to me. Then we should have 1 and a 2, and I would guess 4 minimum of these of the Death Rider sprues, because it should just be a duplicate sprue. Yep, that's exactly what we thought it was going to be, because it's 2 sets of 5, right? It's not a single unit of 10, so you should see that set of sprues right there is identical. There shouldn't be anything that's kind of standing out there. And the same should go for this one if I can line it up properly, if I can figure out how it's aligned. Yep, that wasn't very difficult. There we go. So there's a duplicate set of sprues right there for the Death Riders. Looking great. And then a mighty 3-hole sprues for our artillery piece. Now, I love this artillery piece. I think it's really cool. I'm a little disappointed it's not just an Earthshaker cannon. They used to have the carriage batteries on Forge Bar. They don't sell them anymore, but they were absolutely beautiful. Anyway, doesn't really matter. We sadly don't get a duplication of that lovely artwork on the outside of this box. We do just get a plain old Warhammer piece of card. And then here we should have a transfer sheet. Check that out. Mine's not in particularly good nick. That's really faded, and that's not just the out of focus camera. You can see that's it looks like that's been water stained or something. You know, down here it's all fine, but up there it's not in particularly good nick. I wonder if there's another one in here. Let's have a look. Let's see. That's a little bit disappointing otherwise. We've got a lovely big old base there. We should have the another bag of bases. There we go. That's for the engineers. 100mm round base. I'm almost certain of that. And no, we do have a bunch of oval bases here. This will be for our Death Riders naturally. It should be over somewhere in the region of 11. 10 of which will be the same size, and 1 of which will be slightly bigger for Lord Marshal Dreer, or Dryer, or as we keep calling him, hand dryer, around these parts. I think that's all the bases. Yeah, looks to be. There we go. Alrighty. So we do have our folio, which we like. Sadly, no extra transfer sheet. Mine's a bit dodge, so that's a bit of a shame. We have to hope maybe that it's not completely the end of the world, but like I said, it just looks to be, I don't know how well that's coming up on the camera, but it looks to me like it's water damaged, and like all of this is now faded, and I'm not sure if it's meant to be like that. I don't think it is, because it was definitely a discoloration. If I bring it closer to the camera, you should be able to see along this line a discoloration. It doesn't even feel correct either to the touch, so that's a bit of a shame. I hope yours isn't the same, but yeah, looks like mine's a bit dodgy. It's a bit of a pity, but oh well. Pop that to one side. I'm sure we'll find a use for that at some point. And then of course here we have the final part. We have the folio. This is absolutely gorgeous, by the way. Again, 10 out of 10 Games Workshop. Love that they keep doing this, and it's a really, really nice way to keep all of your stuff together. Now let's see how much of this is extra cardboard, because they keep doing that as well. Lots of just kind of sort of structure cardboard to keep things tight, which I'm not sure it definitely needs, but there we go. I can't get the flipping book out. I feel so useless. You're so useless and weak. Oh, come on. There we go. Oh, finally. Ah, there we go. Alright. There's what we were looking for. Here is the gorgeous codex. Love the back. Love the front. Codex Astra Militarum. That's a lovely, lovely book. Oh, with the silver along the pages as well. That feels... I mean, this is weighty. Let me check how many pages it is. It is 167 pages in total. That's pretty impressive for a codex these days. Usually they're a little bit lighter than that. Anyway, we're not here to look in depth at the codex as much as I would like to. We're going to look at this in just a minute. But before we do that, we've got the not War Scroll cards, data cards here in a really, really lovely little pack with the scions there on the front and an Attilan Rough Rider on the back. I have no idea why it's positioned that way around, but there we go. Ah, there you go. That's the orientation. Shall we have a look at one of the cards? Oh, it's in two. Let's just pull one of these out. There we go. And there we go. There's a rattling, and it's got that absolute classic Astra Militarum backing on it. There you go, for the voice of command and stuff like that. Okay, great, cool, lovely. Oh, and they've got a silver edging as well. That's really nice. That's very pretty. I like that a lot. Oh, it's very difficult to maintain one's calm demeanor when you're very excited. Your immune system isn't particularly working that well. You've been ill for the last week and a half, and all you want to do is play with your Krieg toy soldiers. But you can't get too excited, because otherwise you'll end up coughing everywhere and ruining the take. Yes, that would be bad. So here it is, the Death Korps of Krieg Astra Militarum Army Set Instruction Manual. We'll have a quick look in here at what we've got. So we do have 130mm round base, not a 100mm round base. It's 130mm round base, 175mm oval base, 10 60mm oval bases, 1 40mm round base, and 5 25mm round bases. That is the bases that come in here. Naturally, that big large round one is for the artillery piece. The 75mm is for Lord Marshal Dreer, and the 10 oval ones are for the Death Riders. So we will kind of take these one at a time in just a minute. But we have Lord Marshal Dreer up first. He's just on, well, no, he's not. He's on 2 pages. There you go. Then it's the Krieg Combat Engineers, which is interesting. Just thought it would go straight to Death Riders after that. And then, after that, it's Death Riders. And then we will finish things up with, naturally, it being the artillery team just there. It's absolutely gorgeous. There is so much to be excited about for the Astra Militarum. And this is just absolutely mind-bogglingly cool. I'm very, very into all of this. Well, with all of that in mind, we should assemble ourselves to be ready for the Sprue review of a lifetime. Okay, so the place we're going to start, as already mentioned, is with Lord Marshal Dreer, or Dreer. And, well, as you can see, it's over 2 pages. It's this one, and it is this one. Now, generally, as mentioned, we usually use this opportunity to look in the instruction manual to see if we have anything in the way of some, you know, lovely optional extras here, and we do for Lord Marshal Dreer. We have the sword out or the pistol out. I'm probably going to go for the sword out because the sword looks cool, And yeah, well, swords are just always fun, aren't they? And you follow the blue track for the sword here, and you follow the green track for the pistol out. So basically, you're going to have an optional extra here in terms of having the what's it called, the sword in the scabbard or not in the scabbard, and then the arm is either holding the sword in the green track or is holding the pistol out in the other track as well. And we do have a little bit of kind of ordering here. So up here, 1 and 2, you will want to do it in that order so that it actually goes together and more simply than trying to kind of maneuver what I'm assuming is a piece of rain or braiding or something into this area of the model and then putting the pistol on afterwards. There you go. It's really simple, but lots of components here, which is pretty cool. So we'll just pop this to one side just for the moment, and well, we'll just slide it in there like that. So in order to build Lord Marshal Dreer, we will require this lovely sprue, of course, and we will also require the 75mm oval base. Now, there's quite a few components here, but it's nicely spaced out. It's very, very roomy sprue. There's lots of space with which to navigate around this particular set of components, which is really nice. It should make building this pretty simple. But there are a couple of things that we do need to point out here and there. So, for example, we have the horse, the Death Ride, the Death Strider, maybe, I can't remember what it's called. The horse, basically. We have connection points, for example, here and here and here, that are all within the horse's kind of soft flesh. We also have it over here on this part, on the rump, on the back of the leg here. So we do want to watch out for those because those are a smoother, more rounded surface. So you want to move with the curvature of those pieces using your knife or mold line remover when it comes to the cleanup just there. We do have a head for a horse here, which looks to be a single piece mostly. I think it is, apart from the horse's ears and top of the head armor there. That's great. It's not two halves of a head that stick together. Now we do have to watch out for this kind of piece here, just for this kind of part of the reins there. That might put a little bit of pressure on this kind of part of the reins there when you clip it off the sprue. So you might want to start here and then clip off the rest of it, because if you start clipping here and here, you might put too much downward pressure on that little joint there and end up snapping that part of the reins off. And that same thing would go for down here as well on component 6. You want to clip just there first and then do the other two pieces, because again, you don't want to put any pressure on there. On this part over here, you want to clip just there and then clip over here, because the reason being for that is that over here this is a clip that comes down and this is a clip that comes inward, so it should be fine. You don't have to clip here first to avoid any kind of undue pressure on the wrong areas. Now we have the unsheathed sword here, and it's absolute beautiful sword. I love it. It's very sharp, that one, as in Richard Sharp. We have a connection point on the back on the non-cutting edge of the blade, which is absolutely fine. And then we have one here on the shoulder. Again, it's in a pretty congested part. You can see there's the kind of the concave of the shoulder and the kind of trim area of the piece. You just want to be careful around here that you're not kind of taking too much off. It might be that you want to clip it closer to the sprue itself, just there, in order to make sure that you kind of get it nice and flush when you're smoothing it down. And then we have a connection point here on the underside of what I'm assuming is his jacket or body, which should be fine because that should just kind of be covered up by when it glues into the rest of him. We have the other scabbard here, again connected on the back part of the sword, on this kind of flatter area, so not on the kind of the sharpest part. So that's absolutely fantastic. And the same for the sheathed one here, there and there, connected on the back part of the sword, which is absolutely great. The pistol here, we're connected on the kind of, well, the flat area of the pistol is the best way I can explain it. And then similarly to the sword, we have the shoulder. It's the same deal. Clip it closer to the sprue so you can see what you're doing. And then we have the underside of the body. All in all, that's a pretty good sprue. We have the, well, I mean, the tactical rock, for lack of a better word. There's quite a lot of tactical debris there, though. That's all absolutely fine. It'll be connected around the outside. Just kind of move it in that kind of 3D plane. Move it this way to make sure you're catching all of that flash. Just checking that the sprue is flat. Yeah, the sprue is flat. It's looking pretty good. This is that piece that we were talking about earlier that you want to kind of glue it in first in that 1 and 2 section when in the instruction manual. It's there. That's a piece to easily lose. I didn't quite realize that was a piece just until that second ago. So there you go. But then my eyesight isn't always to be trusted. We have another piece of the kind of tactical debris here. We do have a connection point on top of a helmet there, which is a bit of a shame. That's a smooth rounded piece, and it is on the base, so it doesn't really matter at the end of the day, but you may want to just again move with the curvature of the helmet when you're smoothing that part down. We have the other pistol hand, which is the one if you've got the sword drawn. Again, it's connected on that kind of exact same kind of smooth part of the pistol, but there on the underside, on the elbow, no less. So the pistol should be familiar. That shoulder pad is nicely avoided as well, which is great. Which would mean that the other one somewhere is here. I can't see it though. There, up there. That's not as good because that's connected right in there on that shoulder. So maybe you do want to have cutlass drawn if it is indeed a cutlass. It's more of a saber, isn't it? Anyway, sword aficionados, you'll tell me if I'm right or wrong. We have the barbed wire assembly over here, which you'll want to be careful around. This here is not wasted plastic. That is a piece of rock. Do not accidentally clip it off here because you'll be missing that. That will be gluing in somewhere around here. So it'll be one of those pieces that's very obvious if you don't put it on there. Otherwise, we're connected on the wood here and here, which is okay. But then here we're connected on what looks like a skull. Yeah, but that is just there. You can see that. Actually, it's a good catch. There is a little peg on the underside of that skull. So that's where that's going to slot in. Do not accidentally clip that off. You want to just go right there, just to make sure you get that off neatly. We have the back of him, because that's the front of him. This is connected, unfortunately, in the plume of the helmet, which we don't really like around here because it's in amongst the hair, and it's just very easy to accidentally kind of smooth that off or take too much off with your knife or mold line remover and just lose some of the detail around there. Essentially, just be careful and you'll be fine. Finally, we have the two kind of boots. Well, they're not kind of boots, they are the stirrups and his boots. You know, the kind of, well, what's that? It's the ball. I can't remember. It's where the toes are. The toes of the boot. It's his toes. His booted toes. And we have the rest of the kind of saddle blanket and legs and stuff here as well. All connected around the outside in sensible places, which is very nice. It should be nice and easy to put those together. We have another piece of barbed wire assembly here. We're connected on the underside of the base here and on a piece of rock. And then finally we have a saddlebag. And we have a piece of, I guess, Vox gear or something like that, where it's connected in nice, simple places. All in all, this is a really nice looking sprue. It looks really cool, and I'm loving that there's optionals here, honestly. That's really, really exciting, especially on a named character. You don't generally see that too often, but you can build to your heart's desire, one would assume. It's not like we've seen a Marshal, a normal Marshal. That's the thing I'm surprised at, is this isn't a dual kit like you would see in Sigmar kits, that it would build either the named version or a non-named version. That's something I think is possibly slightly missing from this, but this looks really cool, and I'm excited to put this one together and see how long it takes to do so. So with Dreer all built, he's looking pretty good. Actually a spectacular miniature. I am very, very impressed with this. I think it looks amazing. Everything Lord Solar Leontus wishes he was. Absolutely fantastic. Right, now we move on to the next page in our instruction manual journey, which is this one. And we've already looked at it before, but it is the Krieg Combat Engineers. Now there's a lot going on here. It's quite a confusing set of instructions because there's loads of different options, which makes this an absolutely fantastic kit and, well, just really characterful and awesome. So before we go anywhere, we have interchangeable parts. These are the backpacks. So you have 1 and 2, which don't require any assembly. You have this one, which does, this one that does, this one that does, and this one that does. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 optional backpacks that you can use across your miniatures. And then each one has got multiple different variants, right? So we have our Krieg Engineer Watchmaster here with 2 different variants there and there by the looks of things. And then we have just a regular Krieg Engineer that you can build from these components. You follow the blue track to make this guy, and then this version to make the pink one, and so on and so forth. So yeah, it is a somewhat confusing nature. That's where it ends to get this version, and this is the optional thing with the grenade and the slung shotgun. Then if I turn over the page, you'll see what I mean by how this gets really confusing, because this is our next individual who can be built with a combat weapon and a pistol, or the shotgun, or whatever that is. Large Auspex by the looks of things. So this is what I mean. This one feels more like a kill team than the old one did. The old Veteran Guardsman is what it used to be called, but now it's just called Death Korps of Krieg kill team set. So blue track, again, you follow along here to get up to here, or you've got the pink track to get you up to here. And then you have these options here. Same here. Goes on and on and on. Same up to here. There we go. And there is our 5th one there as well. So like I said, loads and loads of interchangeable parts, lots of really cool stuff going on in here. I think what we're going to go for is pretty much all shotguns and a flamer, because that's dope. And we have the remote mine here as well, which is the simplest part of this instruction manual, because it's just this one track. There's no options there. So yeah, as you can see, loads of customizability for your engineers. Awesome. So in order to build the engineers, what you will require is that bag of bases, this one here, and you will require this sprue. So let's take it from this end all the way to along here when we are reviewing said sprue. So I mean, normally what we would do at this point is break these up. Maybe that's what we will do. Let's do it. Snap and snap. So we'll pop those over there just for the moment, and we'll have a look in depth at this one. So as far as I can tell, it looks like there's 2 Kriegsmen on this one. There might be 1 and the bomb on there, and 2 on the other one. I don't know, maybe. I like it when they do this, because it means it's nice and easy to follow as you're putting them together. So it means you can just be like, well, that half will be for that one, and that half will be for that one. And that's a nice way to go through a sprue, quite frankly. But let's have a look at the pieces, shall we? So we have 2 sets of legs here, at least 2 halves of a set of legs. Then we have the other piece of the leg here, so component 2 and component 3. Now we're connected on the underside of the boot here, but then we are on the overcoat here and there. That is right up against the seam, which should go into the coat, the back of the coat here. So it will glue in along that side just there. So that's one of those situations where you could end up with a large gap, but you probably won't, as long as you smooth down and get rid of this bit of flash, because it's right up against the seam. And then if you use enough glue along there, you should be able to press it tight, and it will absolutely be fine. And that should be the same for both the bodies. I like it so far. It's fairly familiar as well with the old Krieg set as well. A lot of memories are coming back to me now building that stuff. We have power sword over here where we're connected on the non-cutting edge of the blade, so that's absolutely fantastic. We have the chainsaw here where we're not connected on any of the chainsaw teeth, because it does happen, but it hasn't happened for a while. We haven't seen one like that in a long time. We have one of the shotguns here where we're connected right on the end of the barrel, and then here on the kind of the butt of the weapon, and then we have one here on the what's that? That's a strap. That's what that is. We have another one of the shotguns where the connection points are very similar, here on the end of the barrel and here on the butt of the weapon. It's a stock, or it's a stockless mod, I would guess. We have another shotgun over here, actually. So I think maybe we are correct in thinking that it is going to be one Kriegsman, well, these two Kriegsmen per sprue. It looks like this half over here is the sergeant, and then this one over here is the one that has the choice between the flamer and the shotgun. Now, because we have so many different customizable details on here, such as these pistols and things, there's a lot of really kind of, I think it's a little bit too much of a congested sprue at times, but that's okay. It's not the end of the world. It just means there's loads of choice, and you have the agony of choice here, which is not necessarily a bad thing at all. The only thing I can't really see on here is either of those backpacks, those optional backpacks, well, interchangeable backpacks. We do have some of the heads though, a couple here and here, and they are unfortunately connected right on the top of the helmet up there, and then down here in the rebreather. So you want to be careful around here, because again, you clip it at the rebreather there, so you don't end up putting any pressure on the hose, and then just be really careful when you're smoothing down, and indeed clipping off your helmets, because you don't want to accidentally take off the top part of the helmet. You just want to kind of, it's a reasonably flat area. It's not want to completely smooth down. That's why I'm not 100% taking marks off for that, because that area is pretty clearly marked as to where it's supposed to be, and it'd be flat right on top, which is okay, but it's still non-ideal. We have a couple of the arms and stuff where, as you know, you would normally expect this type of thing, not that you love to see it, but we are connected right on the elbow in the fabric of the greatcoat, here, and here, and here, and here, and here, and here, and here. So yeah, just be careful there. Again, like always, just move with the curvature of the piece rather than just kind of cutting flat, because you don't, again, as always, you don't want to smooth it off too much. Okay, so all of those heads are consistent, 1, 2, and 3. I'm not seeing another one down there. We do have another one of the legs, actually, we should just quickly talk about where we're connected here on the front of the knee. And that's a slightly weird thing we've seen in recent times from some 40k kits, and indeed some of the Stormcast. Occasionally you're having just a connection point on the front of a knee, which is a bit strange. There's a very prominent place for there to be a clip point. You do want to make sure you absolutely get that perfect when you're smoothing it down with your knife or mold line remover, so just watch out for those. Okay, that's sprue number 1. Now we shouldn't see too much in the way of different variations and strange things going on with each of these sprues, apart from this one maybe, because we do have the actual mine as well. So the mine, they call it a mine. Okay, so actually one thing I perhaps would worry about, but they haven't done here, is that there would be a connection point in the drill part, and actually there isn't, which is really good, and that's interesting. So that must mean that that is the bottom side of the mine, because I'm not seeing another kind of half of the drill pieces anywhere, so that's really good. You're not going to have a long kind of gap going along the side of these drill bits by the looks of things. Again, I could be completely wrong, never trust my eyes. And we have a couple of these kind of extra pouches and grenades and things like that, which are nice little details. And we have some of those backpacks here, actually. 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe we have them all, 5, 6. Yeah, six backpacks that looks to be. So yeah, I mean, they're reasonably well connected, mostly grenades, but they're not connected in the kind of, well, I guess the grip of a grenade, if that's what you can call it, the outer shell. They're on the underside of the grenade, which is absolutely fine here and here, because it's a nice smooth flat detail to clip it off. And we have one on the top of the pickaxe here as well, which is okay. We have this one, we're connected around the outside of the piece. Same for this bag, and here and there. They're looking pretty good nick to me, to be honest. So that's pretty cool. The shotgun here is very consistent, right on the end of the barrel, but then here we're on the underside of the grip rather than on the kind of the stock of the weapon just there. I really like these pistols. I'm not sure if they're stub pistols or las pistols, but I think it's a really nice design. It's very, very Krieg, and it looks very, very cool. We have another helmet here, again, same as before. One of the bodies, I don't think we touched on it on the other sprue, but the bodies are pretty much connected at the kind of the arm joints, or on the top and bottom of the body. It's not something that really needs pointing out because it's nice and easy. It's always going to be somewhere where you just have a smooth flat surface on which to smooth down your model with your knife or mold line remover. How many times can we say that in one video? Yeah, okay. So, like I said, nothing too much that's going to be surprising about this sprue based on the other one that we've had a look at. And I should suspect that the third one here is very similar to our first one. And it looks to be, yes, because there's no drill lines or anything here. Very congested piece of plastic again. And we have even more kind of the same thing, really. Shotgun here connected on the end of the barrel and on the underside of the grip. The bodies, same thing on the joints, looking pretty good. Shoulder, elbow connections on all of the arms. Yeah, there's that large Auspex. It wasn't Auspex after all. That's connected in a slightly weird way. It's around the outside here and here, and on the top here, but that's right between the antenna. So just be really careful when you're clipping that one off. You might want to kind of clip it back here, then just use your knife to just prise that one away rather than try and get your clippers in there. It's a little bit congested. The helmet here again, and helmet over here, and helmet over here, all connected on the top in exactly the same way as the other one, so at least it is consistent, if not perfect. So there you go. That is the Engineers. This is an absolutely spectacular kit. There's so much going on here. It's going to be a real difficult time choosing exactly how to arm them. So much so that you're probably going to want multiple of them. I also hear they're rather good in game, so let's see if they're rather good to put together. So with our Engineers all built, they're absolutely fantastic kit. Just loads of really cool customization options on here. I went with the cool sort of pistol. Just thought it looked awesome, so I went with Rule of Cool. And we ended up with 2 shotguns and a flamer. And I also built the big old Auspex as well. There it is. Because that's controlling the bomb. So there you go. Made sense to me at the time. Engineers, awesome. So now we move on to the real meat of this box, which is the Death Riders. Here they are. So one thing to point out here is that you have got tons of customization in the Death Riders as well. So we have interchangeable parts in the form of all the backpacks. We have all of the interchangeable kind of armor for the horse's breastplate. And we have the mounts, different tails and packs here as well. They're all interchangeable and so on and so forth. We build all of our horses first. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, apparently. And then we move on. So then we add things like the heads and stuff, which are not interchangeable by the looks of things. Or at least, no, they should be interchangeable because they should work across all of them. Anyway, this is where things get interesting, right? So within the box, you have the option to arm your Death Riders. So you have your Death Rider Sergeant here. This is the recommended build for the Death Rider Sergeant. You can build them with the Lance, the Saber, and the Las Carbine, all equipped, as it were. However, if you consult the Tome of Power, one thing to point out within the Codex is that the Death Riders, and I'll show this to you because I was initially worried that I might have to make a loadout choice here, but the Codex itself does state that the Death Riders, here we go, Death Riders, every model is equipped with Death Rider Las Carbine, Frag Lance, Power Saber, and Steed's Savage Claws. There's no optional loadouts here. They're just armed with everything. So ultimately, it doesn't matter what you put on there. And actually, that's one of the things that made these even more compelling, because when I first looked at them, I was like, oh, they're a bit rubbish. But actually, they are really good, because they've got all of this, and when you are leading them with Lord Marshal Dreer, he gives them devastating wounds on the charge, I think. I might have just lied to you there. Each time this model's unit makes a charge move until the end of the turn, melee weapons equipped by models in that unit have the devastating wounds ability. So there you go. It's not just the power saber, well, it's not just the lances that they would be equipped with, or power sabers. It's both. And obviously you don't strike with one in the combat phase, but that makes it very compelling. They're very, very cool. So, and also you don't give up any shooting, because they all have the las carbines as well. So ultimately, like I said, you can go entirely with Rule of Cool here, for now. They might change that in the end, Games Workshop, but we'll have to see. Anyway, like I said, you have this option here. So you have the lance, you have the saber out, you have the las carbine over there, and that will build you your first Death Rider. Your next Death Rider is the same sort of deal. You have the pistol out, or I think that's the las carbine, the saber, or the lance out as well. We have all of these optional extras here and things to put on, stuff like this, and so on and so forth. And it's the same across all 5 of the Death Riders. See, for example, over here. Now, I'm probably going to build the first 5 with the thing out, lance, and then I'll do the other 5 maybe with the sabers out, and then if I get another 5 eventually, I'll do them with the las carbines out. We'll have to see. I know my own limitations, but there you go. It's across 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, 6, 7 pages. There is a lot here, but like I said, you don't have to be. Oh no, there's another page as well. 8 pages just there. So it's a really interesting set of rules, and it's really cool. And it's an interesting set of instructions. Now, in order to build them, we will require the 10 oval bases that we have remaining, because we've used the big one on Lord Marshal Dreer. And we will require these 4 sprues. Now, these are duplicate sprues, as we've already mentioned. So we only need to look at 1 set, so we will do that. We'll pop these to one side, and we shall engage. We shall start with running out of room on the desk. There we go. We'll start with this one here. So this is where we can see quite a few of our interchangeable parts to kick things off, which is a happy accident. So we have all of our armor pieces here, which are a little bit better nick than the Lord Marshal Dreer ones. Dreer has had a little bit more kind of flourish to it, so these are a little bit easier to clip out because they're on these just kind of rounded parts here and here with connection points, which is okay, and it's consistent across all 5, so it's the same, so it should be familiar as you go through and get it done. We have our kind of holstered las carbines here as well. We have extra pouches and stuff, and we have the backpacks. Those are all interchangeable. We don't have all of the tails, but we have a couple of them here, 1 and 2. Now those are connected on the inside of the piece here and on the underside of the tail, and that one's okay because the underside of the tail is slightly easier to deal with because there's less pressure. But then we have this one over here where we're connected on the underside of the tail, which is fine, but then right here on the top of it. So you want to be careful with this one because that will be an outward facing detail. So just again, as we always say, just be careful with the pressure that you're applying with your knife or mold line remover so as you don't smooth it off, because those are very, very rounded tails. It's not hair this time around, it's little rat tails almost. So just be careful around there. The heads seem to mostly be actually in one piece. Like with Dreer, it's going to be a case of we're going to just glue the ears in, which is really nice. It's nice to see that. Now the bodies of the horses are in halves, which is always kind of open to interpretation as to whether or not you like that kind of thing. It does mean that you're going to have to watch out for kind of a gap that goes along the belly, but ultimately does it really matter, because it's the underside of the horse, so who's ever going to see it, right? You know, but it might be that you just want to watch out for it around the rump and over the back of the horse as well, around the saddle and things like that, because the head will deal with the wide void at the front here, and theoretically this part, the tail, should join the two pieces together nicely, and then be covered by these straps with the seam, which is quite nice. It's quite a nice way of doing it. So these could be brilliant, they could be really bad. We'll have to see. It's impossible to determine just yet, but all signs point towards them being really nice to put together. They also seem to be reasonably well collected, as it were. So 21, 22, and 23, 24, all these pieces around here. This is either 66, no, that's 1 and 2 and 3, yeah, so around this sort of area as well. So yeah, looking pretty good. It's a nice sprue, this one. I'm interested. Well, of course I'm interested. I really like them. I think they're cool. The legs were connected at the back of the legs, which is nice, because you see on the back of the boot, which is cool. It's not outward facing. Well, it is outward facing, but it's not frontward facing. So again, a little bit less pressure in terms of making sure you get it properly cleaned off. You should, by being careful with your knife or mold line remover, but it's always nicer when it's on the back here rather than on the front. So when you're looking at the model front on, you won't just see a big kind of chunk that's been cut out of it. It's just a really nice optimal way to place stuff on the sprue. And the other part of it is connected here on the tummy, well, at the seam of the waist, which is where the rest of the body will go in, so it'll be covered up as well. So that's good. Good sprue, like it. Awesome. Obviously we should just mention as well that with the Death Rider mounts as well, we do have a couple of connections here in the flesh, but to be honest, I'm surprised at how few we have. There's one here and there's one here, and then there's one here on the back and one here on the front, and then over here we have one on the rump, and then we have one on the knee, one on the ankle, and one on the rump there as well. So actually they've gone quite sparingly, which is nice so far. We'll have to see. Next up, I didn't see any sabers over there, so we don't know if we've got any cutting edge problems, but we shall see now on next sprue, which is this one, which is absolutely beautiful sprue. Just beholding it for the first time properly, I absolutely love that sprue. It looks like there's a lot of stuff going on here, and there is, but it's actually a lot of it is taken up by these absolutely gorgeous lances. They are enormous. It's a properly well proportioned to the models, actually. I mean, we'll have to see how big they are. I mean, if they're like Dreer, they should be massive, but I really like the size of those lances. They feel proper, which is really cool. We have the sabers over here. Yes, we're connected on the back part of the weapon, here and here and here. We're not actually connected there. That one's snapped, but it was on the back. Here on the back of the blade as well. Yeah, I think we're safe. I think we escape any cutting edge connection points, which is awesome. Love it. Absolutely fantastic. Great job. Now, the horse body is exactly the same as we've just already kind of talked about on the other sprue. And again, they've gone pretty sparingly here on the back of the ankle, this there on the front, and then here on the rump as well. One there, one, no, just one on that one on the musculature. We have 1, 2 on the musculature, 1, 2, 3 here, and 1, 2, and no, that's 2, 1 and 2. So it doesn't ever really exceed 3 on all of the horse's muscles and stuff, which is excellent. That's really well done. I'm very impressed by that, and I love that. We've got some more legs here where we're connected about the same. The heads, again, all look to be very similar. We've got all of our kind of reins and things, which I would counsel at this point, because there's so many of them, that you clip on the rein first. So just here, for example, on that piece, clip there and then clip there, so as not to apply any undue pressure to those pieces, because they could be a little bit fiddly. And but we actually do have quite a few pieces like these ones over here where we're not actually connected on the rein at all, which is really nice to see. It creates less faff basically in the build. The tails, it seems to be fairly inconsistent as well. So this one is on the underside, and this one is on the underside, and this one is also on the underside. So it's just that one aberration on the other sprue where it's on top of the tail, actually. So it is fairly consistent. It's just inconsistent on the other sprue. Yeah, I mean, honestly, like, it's a really good looking sprue. I'm not sure really what else to sort of point out here. I mean, I would say that this would be a problem, for example, on these lances where we've got a connection point up here on the actual lance delivery point, but it's a rounded thing, so you will want to be careful with it, but it's not all of them. It's this one and that one that have got a connection point there, but otherwise the other 1, 2, and 3, they all escape that dreaded fate. So actually, you know, it's not too bad just on those two. You could just not put them on. You could use something else instead. The choice is entirely up to you, of course, because rule of cool runs out here, because it doesn't matter about the loadout, because they're equipped with everything that you see before you, which is just awesome. I really like this sprue. I really like this kit. I think this is an excellent kit. I think this is one of the best I've ever seen. We'll have to see in terms of like the mold lines and stuff, but it's looking really clear as well. There doesn't seem to be big thick ones as well, so this is top quality right here. So let's find out, shall we, together, whether it's a top quality build. I'm hoping it's quick. It might be really slow. Well, they take a while to put together, but my goodness me, these Death Riders are absolutely breathtaking. Look at them. There is so much going on with each of these that they are absolutely fantastic. Brilliant models, 10 out of 10. They don't go together too badly. It's just a lot. There's a lot you have to do, but the build process of them is actually quite good. So, yeah, ultimately, just a great set of models. And I've only built 5 for now, for the sake of this video and time, because we do have one last thing to build, which I think is going to take the longest, and it is, of course, the artillery team. Here it is. Now, the artillery team here, these instructions are a little bit confusing, because you start off by building the entirety of the carriage up to there. Makes sense? And then you build all of this, and then you build one of your crewmen, and you're done, right? That's the same for all 4 of these loadouts, but then it changes, right? And we've got a blue track, a green track, a pink track with a yellow gun, and a yellow shoulder. I did warn you. So if you want to do either of these, you actually skip this bit. You don't do the blue track there. You skip straight over to the pink track, and then you want to do this, the building of the cannon, if you want to build the big field gun, which I do, obviously. And then finally we have the bits of some crew, or this bit of crew, and then we have the last kind of optional extras and things like that that you can put in, like spades and stuff like that. So there's a lot going on here, loads of customization. No 2 guns shall be the same here, I suspect. You can build them in multitudes of different ways, which is really cool, and I like it a lot. So we should have a lot of fun with this one. Now, as I've already mentioned, we are going to be building just the big cannon. However, one drawback of these instructions is that essentially when it comes to like the finishing up part, blue track, there isn't really an example of what it should look like over here. So you kind of have this to go off of, but that's not really enough, is it? So you'll have to see how you feel about it. Again, it's all customizable and you can do whatever you like with it, but there's not like kind of like a, it doesn't sort of follow through. It feels like it's kind of missing half the instructions in some ways. You'll be fine, you'll be able to build the carriage, but for a final kind of look at what all of them look like, or indeed just kind of following through on the blue track, the green track, the pink track, or whatever, that would have been nice to see. So there we go. And like I said, there's a slight confusion element here in that you have this bit, the yellow, which is carrying the shell there as an example. And you go, okay, he's there, fine, but then where is he? Where does he go from there? He disappears. So, you know, it is what it is. Anyway, So let's pop this now to one side, because in order to build our artillery team we are going to require the absolutely enormous 130mm round base, I think it was, if I remember rightly. There it is. And we will require these sprues. These 2 sprues, technically 3 sprues. So I don't actually anticipate there being too much to review here in terms of the actual artillery carriage itself. It's going to revolve around kind of, well, it's a vehicle essentially. So all of these pieces should be flat and they should be on the 2D plane, and therefore that will mean that you will have probably some mold lines in the very expected places. You just look at it from that perspective, that orientation, and just move the piece around like that, and you'll get all of the clip parts and you'll get all of the mold lines doing it that way. And everything here, as you can see, it's all flat. It's not kind of sort of weirdly crossing the plane, other than these 2 pieces here, but again it's still reasonably flat. We do have some curved parts of the kind of blast shield, which might have a slight strange mold line in there. No, it doesn't seem to. You could sometimes see one that comes across sort of round about there because of where the sprue is set, but it's pretty good. Now, one thing we will point out is that things like the cannon over here, this one, the large artillery piece, which is the field gun basically, which is what I'm going to be building, it is 2 pieces in half, so it might be that we do end up with a kind of slight gap along the end of it. When you've got something of that size though, what you can do is you can glue the thing together, or rather not even glue it together, well, you will have to glue it together, but you can press the 2 pieces together and then use your knife or mold line remover over those gaps, and it should seal it up just fine, because it's not going to be too obvious a gap, but it might be one. We won't know for sure until we actually put the whole thing together. But that's the artillery sprue, basically. That's the carriage. And, well, the firing mechanism for at least 2 of them. I'm not sure if it's for all 4 of them. I don't think it is. But there you go. That's what it looks like. And there's nothing too fiddly here. There's nothing too brittle. This is a little bit flexible here. The little chocks in front of the will go in front of the wheels. So just watch out for that one again. Just, be careful. Clip here and then here. But don't put too much pressure on it. For example, you might want to clip closer to the sprue just over there so you don't snap the rope here. But you should be fine. It feels fairly flexible, which is okay. And it's not too flimsy either, so that's nice. And then all of these other pieces are just pretty heavy-duty components of an artillery piece, and they're all reasonably flat. It all seems to be reasonably connected all the way, like I said, all the way around the outside. So there you go. The other gun, actually, the 4-barrel, is also here as well. It's the same deal as the large piece. You have the connection points. Not connection points, you have the gaps going along the middle of the barrel, basically. So, again, just on this size, you can just smooth them together and then glue them, as it were. But yeah, it's pretty good. It's not bad. I like it. It's exactly like I expected, and it looks absolutely fantastic. It's very exciting. We do have this other sprue over here, though, which is where we have our crew of the artillery team, which is what it's actually called, rather than just field gun. And we have our bags of sand, which are pretty cool. I like these. I like them just being there. I think they add a lot of character to the gun, and I'm really excited to kind of put these together. They feel so lived in as artillery pieces, which is really exciting, and what makes it look so cool. We do also have like most of the bodies, and we have the kind of the mortar missile rack thing, which looks absolutely fantastic. I do want to get 3 of these. I want 2 field guns and 1 of these as well. So we'll have to see what the future holds for Josh, but I'm very, very excited by this release. I don't know if that's come across at all on account of the illness. Anyway, these Kriegmen and stuff, the crew, the connection points are much the same as they were on the engineers. It's going to be the same deal. You have connection points in reasonably similar, well thought out places, just kind of here in the seams of the coats and stuff, which glue into the legs and stuff, so it usually hides up quite nicely. Lots of kind of connection points on elbows of sleeves, which you can't really avoid. That's the generic thing with the Krieg, and indeed all of the Astra Militarum and stuff like that, so you'll be used to it by now, I'm sure, if this is not your first radio. But by the time you get to this, you'll have done the horses, you'll have done the engineers as well, so you should be used to that by now. So there you go. I mean, I don't think it's a particularly surprising sprue. It is a very good sprue. It looks amazing. There's loads and loads of bits. Lots of bits that will be left over as well for building your crew for your basilisks and stuff as well. That's the other thing to bear in mind here, is you will be able to take elements of this and throw it on other miniatures, which is just really nice. And there's lots of cool little pieces here and there which make for an absolutely stunning set of miniatures and weapons and all of the such things. So all that remains is to put this one together. I think this is going to take over an hour, maybe even longer. We shall have to see. Why don't you find out with me? There you have it, the Death Korps of Krieg army set all built. Well, excluding 5 of the Death Riders. I haven't done them yet. I'm going to get them built very shortly because, well, like I said, I'm just really, really excited for these. And, well, running them as a big unit of 10 is a very enticing idea. Now, the question being is, did I paint all of it? Well, you'll be surprised, but I painted all but one, and it's not the one you think. So Games Workshop were actually very kind and sent me a couple of sets of the Death Korps of Krieg kill team to bolster the Krieg set. So I used them to actually figure out the scheme. So this is what I painted first, all 10 of these guys, and well, I fell in love. So then I moved on to the engineers, and there they are. So pretty much exactly the same. There's a couple of individual bits here and there, like the remote mine, for example, but realistically these guys are very, very similar to the just normal troops. Then we have the Death Riders, of course, the main event of the box, of which there are 10. I've painted 5, as I've already mentioned, and there are 5 more that will be built and painted in due course, probably with sabers out, just to give it a little bit of variation. And finally, we have the artillery piece, the field gun of dreams. Here it is. We painted the big gun, naturally, and, well, this was a way to kind of act as a stepping stone between the tanks and the infantry, so it's cool. Yes, this time around I didn't actually start with the character, so Lord Marshal Dreer is on my to-do list for tonight, so I'll be doing that after I've finished editing this video, so keep your eyes peeled. But I hope you like the scheme I've come up with. Fingers crossed. I really like it. I think it looks absolutely fantastic. It's one of my favourite things I've ever done. And that's why I'm really excited to paint a ton more of these, which we are going to do over the course of the next few weeks and months. So bearing all that in mind, what do we think of the actual sprues here? Now, it's a little slightly tricky one to kind of talk about, because I think the sprues in general are actually very, very good. Generally speaking, I think they're very, very good. I think the engineer's sprue is absolutely fantastic. There's just so much character that's going on in there, and actually you probably can build it in such a way that you'll never really have any 2 engineers ever look the same. If you're going to have multiples of these, which I fully intend to do, I need to get at least 1 more box to turn that into a unit of 10, and, well, maybe 2 more boxes to get 20, because they feel like special forces for the Krieg, so they'll go alongside my Kassakin when I actually get around to doing them as well. But there's lots of flavour in there, there's lots of cool stuff, and yeah, I think it could do with being pointed out a little bit better that the one with the kind of giant Auspex is the one that's equipped with the remote mine, because in the rules you're swapping your stuff out for the remote mine. So it's an actual piece of wargear. It's not just there on it. One of the guardsmen basically swaps out its loadout for the remote mine, basically, is what I'm trying to say. And I don't think the instructions highlight that particularly well. So it would just have been nice to have, if you're going to build the remote mine, you build him and then the remote mine afterwards in the instructions. That would have made sense, I think, instead of leaving it to the end like they do mostly with the Griblies. Or you move him to the end and do him alongside the Gribli and just say this is the one with the remote mine, basically, rather than it just kind of look like a cool piece of equipment and then you don't build it and then maybe it's perhaps tournament illegal. Well, it would be if you put a shotgun on it, because it would be too many shotguns in the unit. I feel like that's a bit like splitting hairs, but I think it is worth pointing out there for all you fans out there who might be building your own very soon. I think the artillery team piece is really cool, and one thing I will point out here is I think it is probably possible to just build all of the variants, because you don't actually have to glue the gun in, so that's why you're able to move it like this. So actually you could just not glue in the cannon, and then you have the mortar, so that's 2 for here, and then you can pop the whole assembly out and put the other assembly in order to have the quad launcher, and then you have the multiple missile thing as well, which could also be just put together on its own. If I remember rightly from looking at the instructions, you pretty much can do it. So magnetizers out there, you can, but you probably don't even need to magnetize it because it does just slot in. It's a really nice tight fit there, so it's really cool, and yeah, lots of options there, so you could swap it out, which is really, really nice for something like this. It's better than the field ordnance battery, that's for sure, because field ordnance battery, that was a little bit more difficult to do, whereas this be very, very simple. The Death Riders as well, they are excellent. Now, I don't think they are quite as modular as it makes out in some way, if that makes any sense at all. The heads aren't really that interchangeable. They are, but not really, because it kind of depends on the reins lining up with the right arm and stuff like that, so you know, it is what it is. But there is enough variation within the riders themselves in that there's the lances, there's the carbines, and there's the swords, that actually you could build 15 and they all look completely different, which is really, really cool. And it goes without saying that the kit goes together exceptionally well. I was really surprised at that. Sometimes cavalry, it could be hit or miss in terms of how you put them together, but these go together pretty well. And I think you could leave the riders off for those of you who like to do sub-assemblies. I don't think you necessarily need to, especially if you're doing carbines or power sabers. The lances are a little bit big and a little bit cumbersome to get your brush around, but ultimately it is still pretty easy. They're quite roomy models with which to paint. And then finally, of course, we have Lord Marshal Dreer, who I haven't painted yet. We shall find out what that's like to paint. But I have a slight criticism with this, and again, it might be just that I'm slightly splitting hairs here, but I am surprised that Lord Marshal Dreer is not a dual kit. And this, I think, is a criticism of this Krieg release. I just feel like there's a couple of bits and bobs missing here, and I know that seems strange to bring that up now in an army set sprue review, but we've already been shown everything that's coming for the Death Korps of Krieg. It's the artillery team, it's the already Death Korps of Krieg infantry set that we've had for ages. It used to be called Veteran Guardsmen, it's now called Death Korps, I think. We have the engineers, we have the Death Riders, and we have Lord Marshal Dreer, we have a Krieg Command Squad, and the Krieg Heavy Weapons team. And that's kind of it. There might be something I'm missing. The old memory is still refiring after 10 days of being very sick. However, the reason why I think there's some things missing is there's not a sort of generic Krieg infantry character or Death Rider Marshal, for example. You know, the Cadians have the Castellan. Castellan stands apart from the Cadian Command Squad. They also have Ursula Creed and all that stuff. I completely get it. But the only other command option that you have here for the Krieg are the Command Squad, which is fine, but it would have just been nice to have a standalone Marshal for more of your Death Riders. If you want to run 30 of them, you really only got one character that can join the Death Riders. Although Lord Solar Leontus can as well. But if you're going full Krieg, do you want to put Solar Leontus into your lists? That is the question. So it does surprise me that Lord Marshal Dreer does not come as a dual kit of a basic Marshal or Dreer. That would have been nice to have. And I think for the range in general, it would have just been nice to have a Marshal character that was like the Castellan, basically. The other thing as well is that in the codex, what you'll see is lots of lovely pictures of Krieg crew being used on things like basilisks and even field ordnance batteries and stuff like that. It's all over the place in there, which is pretty good, but it kind of feels like there is an upgrade kit that is missing that will help you upgrade the rest of your Astra Militarum units, such as Leman Russ, Rogaldorns, Basilisks, all that kind of thing, to just basically a box of Krieg crew, which would have kind of been nice to have in here, maybe. It would have been slightly weird, but it would have been pretty cool. It seems like a bit of a weird tangent to be going on, because we are talking about the Death Korps of Krieg army set here, but the box feels weird, and I get it, because, you know, it doesn't have any kind of large sections of infantry. We just have 5 engineers and a remote bomb. So really the main draw here is your 10 Death Riders and Lord Marshal Dreer. And, well, for my project of the Krieg, that is all I need. So in that respect, it fills a really good gap for my Death Korps of Krieg planned collection. I won't need to buy any more Death Riders. So that's kind of a bit sad. I kind of would have preferred this box to have 5 Death Riders and 10 Engineers. And then maybe something else, like a heavy weapons team in here as well. Just a little bit more variation. It does feel a little bit kind of thin. Not that it is, but it can feel that way, I think, to some people. Anyway, what do we think overall? Well, I'm really, really impressed with the box. Mold lines were basically non-existent. They were there, but they were really small, which meant they were just a dream to get off. It wasn't kind of like we've experienced a little bit recently in some of these new releases where we've got really thick mold lines, which has slowed down the build. Some of the building of this is quite complex and quite fiddly, but not going to break the bank too much in terms of the time spent putting these together. So overall, it's a really, 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 really good set of sprues. It's very kind of, I guess, tight and well put together, as it were. The models are great. They look fantastic. We've got a new regiment. It could potentially be that this is the, what would you say, the blueprint for other regiments going forward. Looking at you, Catachans. But this gives me hope that we're going to get lots of Astra Militarum goodies going forward, kind of in a similar vein to this. So overall, I think the box is fantastic. However, we did have that little problem with the transfer sheet, which is quite a big problem, because it means I can't really put any transfers on my guys, which I would like to do, so I'll have to wait until more of the stuff comes out and see if that transfer sheet is in any of those boxes as well, so then I can start applying decals and stuff to all of my infantry. But we got lots more of it to paint, so that's fine. We can leave that to another day. So ultimately, what's the final score on the Land Raider scale? Well, we take off a whole point for that dodgy transfer sheet, I know. And, well, otherwise I think we're just going to go for a flat 9 out of 10, because it's a very, very, very good box. My previous criticisms are of the range in general, so maybe actually we'll sit it down at about an 8 out of 10. But that is only because I think there's something missing from Dreer, in that it's not a dual kit. So that's kind of a weird way to score it. But it's how I feel, okay? It's how I feel. There we go, 8 out of 10 on the Land Raider scale. I'm very excited. Death Korps of Krieg, looking great. Astra Militarum, absolutely fantastic. We're going to have a great time this year, I hope. Lots of miniatures to do, lots of things to do. So I am going to wrap things up there. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this one and found this useful. And I'll see you all very soon for another Sprue review. And indeed, plenty of painting content.
If you enjoyed this video, you love the channel and you'd like to support me further, you absolutely can do so by heading to patreon.com/Warhipster, just like all of these wonderful, amazing people have done. And alternatively, you could become a YouTube channel member by clicking on the join button below, exactly like these fabulous folks have done scrolling up on the screen before you. There are so many of you out there that it really takes my breath away, and I cannot thank you enough for everything you do, as without you I wouldn't be able to keep making these Contrast Plus videos. And if you really like this video and you want to send me a little thanks, just click on the thanks button just below this video. Don't forget to share it, like it, comment on it, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And to make sure you stay up to date, don't forget to click the bell icon. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all very soon in the next one. Happy wargaming.